Hello and welcome to Error-Driven Coding. Now, I want to talk briefly about events in Solidity. Events are really useful for when you want to log messages out for debugging purposes. And they're also useful for your dApps or any application you've got that's connected to the Ethereum JSON RPC API, because you can then listen to these events and then act accordingly. The events can also be indexed as well, so that there's a history that is searchable. Let's jump in and take a look. Now in front of us, we've got Remix, which is the online IDE for Solidity. Let's go ahead here and create a new file, and we'll call it events. Let's go ahead and start off the contract with the pragma Solidity, and we'll go greater than version 0.6.0 like so, and then we'll create our contract and we'll give it a name, sample event, like so. Let's tidy this up a bit, and there we go, no errors. Let's make sure that we've got auto compile on. And now for our first step, we want to go ahead and define an event. And we do this with the event keyword. And then I give it a name. So in this case, I'll say we'll create a log. And then let's just make it empty, just for starters. And then I'm going to define a function, like so. And then I'll call it trigger log. And let's check out this error first of all, where you can see we don't have a visibility. So we want to add public, which is great. Let's go public, like so. And it's here where I want to be able to trigger or emit the event. So then I use the keyword called emit. And what is it that I want to emit? Well, it's the log, like so. Let's go ahead and deploy this and see what happens. I'll click on deploy. You can see the logs down below here. The contract has been deployed. I'll open up the contract here. And let's first of all open up the debug script. Let's scroll down. And you can see in the logs area, there's nothing here. And that's exactly what we want. We've got no log values. And what I'm going to do now, let's go and execute the function called trigger log. So when I click this, let's scroll down, and you can see we've got another transaction. If I expand this, scrolling down into the logs section, you can see we've got from, topic, and event. There's nothing in the argument, so it's 0 as we expect. But what is from? This is telling us where the transaction is coming from. If you look at the address, it's B64C. So if I scroll back up to the transaction where the contract was deployed, you can see the contract address is actually B64C. So that is actually the address of the smart contract. And that makes sense because it's saying that this transaction was initiated from the smart contract that we just deployed. Down below here, we've got topic. Now, this is interesting. What topic is it's a hash of your event name plus the type of any parameters that you have. So it's best explained with an example. Let me pull up a command line and I'll show you how this works. Let's go ahead and run node here. I'm going to run some commands. Basically, what I want to do is access the Web3 libraries. And then this allows me to go web3 utils.sha3. And what I want to do here is go take a sha or a hash of the word log. And what you should be able to see here is that the hash is 5197. And that matches the hash of this value down here in topic. You see how it ends in B39? B39. So that is where the topic comes from. Now this was a very simple event that we triggered with no parameters. So let's go ahead and emit maybe a string. So let's go hi, and let's take a look at this error here. It says wrong argument count for function call. That is correct, because in our event we actually have not specified any input parameters. So if we're going to say hi here, we're going to have to tell the event that it's going to accept a string, and we'll call it maybe message, like so. That then gets rid of our error. Let's go ahead and clear the logs, and we'll deploy this again. Let's go deploy contract, and then down below we're going to hit trigger log again, and let's view the details here. Scrolling down, what you'll see is I've got the message parameter here equal to hi. So all of a sudden you can see I can log out information for debugging. You'll notice that the topic hash has now changed, because now I've got a parameter inside. How was this generated? 4130. Let's take a look. Let's go ahead and run this again. And what you'll notice is that if I put string in here, which is the type of the parameter that's being sent through, then I've got 4130. So that is how that was generated. Totally fascinating. Let's go, and in this final example I'm going to send through maybe an integer. So let's go uint maybe 8, and let's call it value, say. And then I can go and let's clear the logs and repeat the process. Let's delete this, hit deploy, and then I'll go ahead and execute the function again. Trigger log, open this up, and then going back down into the logs, you can see here again we've got two parameters now. We've got hi and the value 5. So basically it's like a high 5. And then if we look at the topic, the hash, it's D545. You can probably guess how this was generated. I'm going string, comma, and then if I go uint 8, you'll see I get D545. So you want to make sure there's no space in between here, because if it is, then the hash will completely change. So that's the hash that matches the topic, and you can pull out the arguments down below as well. So for debugging purposes, or in particular for your front-end application in your Dapp per se, where you can use some JavaScript to extract these values and potentially show an error message to your user. So there it is, a very quick intro into events in Solidity.